Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football update channel. It's a pleasure to be back with you on this beautiful Friday night slash evening. It's 11 minutes to the top of the hour of 11 p.m. We should have been here at 9 p.m., but unfortunately, we had a nationwide power breakdown. Therefore, I was stopped or impeded from being here on time, and therefore we had to postpone this engagement to nearly 11 p.m. So it wasn't out of my doing, but nonetheless, like we always say, better late than never. It's good to be here. You caught me laughing at the start of this podcast because I told some people, let's go speak some English. And somebody responded with Tuveco. In other words, leave us alone. Anyways, it's all good. It's all good. I hope you guys have had a wonderful day and that you are enjoying, this sort of mini period without any football whatsoever. Very soon or later, football will be back in full gear. Of course, there's a couple of international friendlies that are being played, including one that will come at 2:45 a.m. When Canada take on, I think, is it Serbia? Probably. So look forward to that one. And then, of course, beyond that, that's all in preparation for the for the FIFA World Cup that is set to kick off in just a couple of days. Today, we did release our exclusive video assessing the favorites for the World Cup, or looking at those countries that I think could have, maybe have a say about being potential winners in as far as the competition is concerned. Obviously, it's not finite. Hi, Rio Dandy. Good to have you on the podcast. I hope you're doing okay. It's not a finite decision, but basically, we're seeing some of those strong opponents that we think will go a long way in as far as the competition is concerned. You can go to the channel, watch that video, and let me know what your thoughts are. Is there any country that you feel I left out in that conversation that you think will have a huge say in the competitiveness for the World Cup, or you think I'm spot on? Or when we spoke about the underdogs, is there a country that you thought I left out, and things like that? So, anyways, allow me to have our audios tested briefly, make sure everything does check out, just to be sure that we are on the right track before we proceed any further. Sir, who do you think will Perez sign? Looks like our audios are good to go. Okay, let me try and read your comment in the best way possible. Oh, Perez will sign. To be honest, says they aren't selling. Bayern Munich say they aren't selling Olise below 200 million euros. Now, that is where our conversation is going to revolve, because, like the headlines has it, Real Madrid have set their targets on Michael Olise as their marque signing for this summer. And then Bayern Munich also are targeting a Liverpool youngster. So we're going to be discussing a lot of that. So this conversation tonight will rotate around transfers or the major transfer stories, of course, in addition to other things pertaining football. But for those of you that have just joined us, kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel. Sir, you live in working smoothly. Everything is good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Real Dandy. So anyways, today, actually not today, but yesterday, for those of you that were part of our live broadcast last night that went on for a good couple of minutes, actually it was about 1 hour, I think 1 hour and some, maybe 50 minutes. That was last night. Forget the morning episode, because the morning episode had its focus, on the World Cup. It touched on Real Madrid's interest, on Ricardo Carafiori, Ivory Coast's victory against France, and things like that. But last night, when we were discussing Andoni Iraola and what lays ahead, that's when the news broke that Florentino Perez were here with you, United Road 10, and greetings to you, United Road 10, wherever you are. And I think, was it Viola who was with us? No, I don't particularly recall. Or it was either Viola or Becky. So, and news broke that Florentino Perez had said that they were set to make a marquee signing who would cost the club at least 150 million euros. And I mean, we he sent us on a wild goose chase when he said the player is not from the Premier League, but also when asked specifically whether it was Michael Olise, he said to the contrary. And we had a discussion. But before he said to the contrary in the realm of Michael Olise, first off of my fingertips was Michael Olise. And then I went on to Kivica Kvaratskhelia. And then we spoke about other names. Even though he had excluded himself from reports of a Premier League player, we nonetheless discussed players like Bukayo Saka, Brad Erling Haaland, Declan Rice, and things like that, just to be, to try and see if we could speculatively get it right. And the conversation we're having is that if it was indeed a forward player, then we made the exception, at least as per the submission of some of, including Rio Dandy, who said, are we going to see a Luis Figo 2.0? And that's when we involved, Lamine Yamal into this conversation. And it went on for quite some time. Obviously, a lot of Barcelona fans, including but not limited to Ash, he was very, very opposed to the idea or any school of thought whatsoever that would link Lamine Yamal with a potential move away from the Camp Nou to the Santiago Bernabeu. And we discussed it to the extent of business, etc., etc. Okay, Rio Dandy says, sir, I have a Tanzanian YouTube streamer who is open in doing collabs. He's an Arsenal fan. He currently lives in UAE. Are you open to collabs? It's completely your opinion. I think I've responded to the affirmative to that effect for as long as they can reach out and we have an engagement and, we'll review each other's platforms and see if our thoughts are aligned and we can always have the conversation. I'm open to any ideas. Thank you so much, Rio Dandy, for that. So, anyways, back to the conversation. Hi, Raymond Kangumba. I'll get to your submission in a bit. So, Rio Dandy was opposed to any idea that Lamine Yamal would make the switch from Barcelona to Real Madrid. Obviously, it's difficult, very, very difficult to pull off, but not impossible in the world of possibilities. And we went on that wild goose chase, speculating who is it going to be. And having himself omitted Michael Olise, it boiled down to at least Kivica Kvaratskhelia as one of those players. We spoke about Vitinha, we spoke about Joao Moutinho, are trying to assess or think deep and as much as possible to try and assess who is he trying to refer to, who could be that possible candidate that Florentino Perez is eyeing should he win the vote for the Real Madrid presidency. Who is that one player that he thinks could be a marquee signing? And when we are speaking about Real Madrid's forward lines or attacking force, we spoke about them needing a right winger. And as at present day, you do not get them any better than you get Michael Olise. Yes, I did mention Yan Diomande. I did mention Magnus Aklaucho, but we are all quick to acknowledge that neither of those two are worth the amounts of money that he was speaking about. So the options that were left were quite very minimal. But today it has come to light that Real Madrid intend to pursue a deal for Michael Olise as their marquee signing. And that is what Florentino Perez is promising. Now, he can promise everything he wants. And because Bayern Munich have been very adamant, they are not willing to entertain any offers for Michael Olise. And this is what I said. Having spent the last 2 seasons at Bayern Munich, coming out of Crystal Palace, he's living the dream. He's living a good life. He loves being at Bayern Munich. He's enjoying himself out there. But as big as Bayern Munich is a club, when Real Madrid come calling, it's usually a different knock. So in that sort of being a different knock, you must appreciate it for what it is, that the person or the club that is coming in for Michael Olise is worth the salt. When I was doing a shortlist for potential Mohamed Salah replacements, top of that list was Michael Olise. And I did acknowledge that it was a very, very difficult deal to pull off, but not impossible. He has a history of having played in the Premier League previously at Crystal Palace, who he joined after a stint, after having his stint with Reading. And I think it would take exponential figures for any club to try and sign him from Bayern Munich. But if there's any club that is capable of attempting, is Real Madrid. It's not to say Liverpool, Arsenal, or otherwise cannot attempt to pull it off. They can attempt it to do it. I do not know whether they would succeed, because a lot of the decision lays between the player and the club itself. For example, Bayern Munich say do not want to sell, but what if the player wants to move and say, guys, I've been a humble servant for the last 2 years. It was nice knowing you. It's Real Madrid. I can't say no. I've said yes. If you guys can agree on a fee, I'll be happy to leave. As difficult as it is to comprehend, Bayern Munich would obviously be hurt. They wouldn't want to let go of such a marksman, a player the quality of Michael Olise, who I believe, I for one, arguably last season is among the top 3 players that have had an excellent season, in terms of their overall contributions and passing the eye test. So that's how really, really highly I regard him. So Crystal Palace, back in 2021, signed him from Reading for only £8.37 million, thereabout. And that was his release clause. And then a couple of years later, Bayern Munich signed him to a 5-year contract, which runs until June 2029. So that means it has 2027, 2028, 3 years left to it, having spent only 2 years so far with them. They signed him for 60 million euros. Arguably, one of the best value for money you're going to find in modern football when it comes to transfers. And it's really, really, good to see that. It's really, really good to see that it's always self-satisfying when a club makes a decision to invest a lot of money in a player and it all pays off. Now, for Michael Olise, not only has it paid off on the pitch, it's possibly bound to pay off monetarily, because I do not know if in that deal, because the deal that was agreed with Crystal Palace was to the tune of 60 million euros. That's for guaranteed fees and add-ons, expected add-ons. I don't know if there's a future sell-on clause or anything whatsoever. But whatever the case is, by the mere fact that Florentino Perez thinks that the player is worth 150 million euros, that means he's already twice, or actually he's already more than twice the price that they bought him for. So take off the 60 million euros and you still have in the excess of 80 million euros, possibly 90 million euros in the form of profit. So honestly speaking, there's not so many Michael Olises out there in the market. There are not many. You can try and find the next game. You can try and find the next game. You could be successful. You may not be successful. But at the financial terms of it, at the business end of it, it makes a lot of sense. Ideally, as a club, building this squad that they think, they've won they've won the championship, the Bundesliga, for the last 2 consecutive seasons under Vincent Kompany. They pushed the bounds to try and win the Champions League. They are yet to come good on that ambition, but they're looking good and they're building towards that. So ordinarily or ideally, as a team building towards that, they wouldn't want to let go of their master keys. In those master keys, you have players like Harry Kane, you have players like Luis Diaz, you have players like Michael Olise. Those are some of the crown jewels in this Bayern Munich setup. So plucking out one of them will almost feel like a setback to that objective of conquering Europe. It will almost feel that way, So, but yet at the same time, business has to be done. Some offers are just too good to stay away from. Hi, Verstappen. So, no, actually, it's not Verstappen. This is Vatso. Is it Vaso Patel? Hi, Patel. So, I understand if Bayern Munich are hesitant to sell. I completely understand. And yesterday, we were still speaking, in terms of the valuation of players. And I did say, there's not many players out there in the market that are worth 150 million euros, if any. And we cited Lamine Yamal as one of the players that is definitely worth that, as both a player in quality, but also on the business side of things. Now, when it comes to the business side of things, Michael Olise has, I don't know if he has not marketed himself or has not positioned himself as that sort of big a brand in alignment with the level of football that he's playing. Because there's a lot of great players and great athletes that are really, really playing good football. But when you look at their brands and by digital footprint, they're not the biggest. The advantage is, however, is that Real Madrid can build you to be that. Nonetheless, at Real Madrid, being the collection of Galacticos that they intend to be, or want to be, or aspire to be, I do not think at the present day that they are that. There's no way Dani Ceballos is a Galactico. There's no way Camavinga is a Galactico. No. There's no way Falan Mendy is, or Antonio Rudiger. No, it just doesn't feel that way, in my humble opinion, albeit I'm a Real Madrid fan. So, going to Real Madrid, you're going to be a king among kings. In other words, you have Vinicius Junior, you have Kylian Mbappe, you're there, you're Michael Olise, you have your Judy Bellinghams. So those are guys who have done their absolute best to transition their quality football into quality brands as well at the individual level when it comes to a global building. When it comes to building their digital footprint. So I feel that Michael Olise is not yet in that space. But making the transition from Bayern Munich, going to Real Madrid, can put him in that bracket because, trust me, Real Madrid will force you to build that, or at least will help you build that, because that's how their business is done. The more sounding your name is, the more routinely you're written about, the more money flows in, the more they get to market their merchandise as a club. It's the biggest club in the world. They preponderate everybody when it comes to revenues. They're a gigantic club. Florentino Perez was saying 20 years ago, or more than 20 years ago, when he walks through the doors of Real Madrid, they could barely fully pay players' wages. And today, it's a totally different gargantuan club. They've rebuilt the Santiago Bernabeu to have the best state-of-the-art stadium. They've made a modern marvel of a stadium that is capable of holding or hosting multiple sporting events and other events, concerts, music concerts, etc., etc. So they are making the money through football and without football. So that's the club. Now, because Bayern Munich are hell-bent on selling, that is true. But at the end of the day, everybody has a price. And like I said, for as long as the player is willing to go to Real Madrid, a deal can always be made. The question will be, at what price? In the early submissions, as per this broadcast, Rio Dandy is of the view that Bayern Munich want at least in nothing less than 200 million euros. Yesterday, we were citing the signing of Neymar Santos Jr. from Barcelona to PSG, which cost 220 million euros at the time. And we went on to speak about Kylian Mbappe joining PSG from AC Monaco as some of the most expensive signings that there has ever been. Business-wise, it made all the sense for PSG to sign those players. They're that caliber. Today, present day, PSG is one of the clubs that sell a lot of club merchandise. Why? They did that partnership with Nike and then Jordan that put their merchandise in that space, and they do a lot of marketing of that merchandise. They focused on designing jerseys and outfits that are almost fashionista-like. You've seen me don the white PSG kit from a couple of seasons back. So I do not appreciate the one that they've released for next season. Now, I just did not like it that much. But they position themselves as such. So in getting a player like Neymar, with all his brand global appeal, in subsequently getting players like Kylian Mbappe, getting players like Sergio Ramos and Lionel Messi, they made the money through the merchandise and etc. And further making their club a global brand appeal. So Lashkush says Olise is Bayern Munich key player. They will not do the mistake they did with Cruz. Now, with Toni Kroos, you could qualify it for a mistake, given for how little he went for. But when it comes to Michael Olise, like I said, ideally Bayern Munich wouldn't want to sell. But if the player is willing to move, then the question becomes, at what cost? Because if Michael Olise and Real Madrid have an agreement, or were to have an agreement in principle, that, okay, I'll join on these terms. That first of all, I'll join, I want, let's say, 300 grand a week in terms of wages. That's in euros, by the way, we're speaking. Is if he says, you'll pay me 5 million euros in sign-on fees, and then agent fees will be that, of course, that's not his to negotiate, but etc. And image rights will be to that effect, blah, 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 whatever the nitty-gritties are. If they can strike an agreement, then the rest of the piece of business is left between Bayern Munich and Real Madrid. You say, I think Bayern Munich doesn't need the money. It's not necessarily about Bayern Munich needing the money. Like I said, ideally, Bayern Munich wouldn't want to sell. But if the deal makes business sense, trust me, somebody will make the decision for the business to be done. Because at the end of the day, these are businesses, these are entrepreneurs that you're dealing with. You know, like I've said, he cost them 60 million euros in guaranteed fees and expected add-ons. Already, if Real Madrid are coming in at the ballpark of, let's say, 150 million euros, that's more than double they paid for him. In other words, your profit is 90 million euros. Right on the go. And if they are saying he's worth more than that, then they stand to make more. Michael Olise, as brilliant as he is, he's not a demigod in football. He's not Lionel Messi. He's not even Neymar's type of talent. So, in other words, the point I'm trying to make is that he is not irreplaceable. He is replaceable. It's just not easy. You get the point? So, he's the type of player who, when you go out there in the market, there's not many like him. In fact, you will struggle to find one like him. But he's not irreplaceable. He's not Messi. He's not Cristiano Ronaldo. He's not Neymar. In as far as some of the best talents that we've seen in the last 15, 20 years. He's one of them, but he does not break into that bracket. You know, I'll say that Luis Alberto Suarez was a more talented player, a more joy to watch than Michael Olise. And I sing huge praise of Michael Olise. But that's how high those other talents have been. So, it can make business sense. It's not necessarily about Bayern Munich as the club needing the money. It's about making the right decision. Because with 150 million euros, you can't go back in the market and replace Michael Olise. The question is, what's that talent that you've perfectly spotted to be that guy? Yesterday, they were interested in Anthony Gordon. It's not to say he would have been the replacement. No. The other one is a left winger. We're talking about a right winger. Last summer, they were interested in Bradley Bacola. I don't think that interest is since gone away. Today, they're interested in signing Ismail Sarabia from PSV Eindhoven. But as we are going to see in the next couple of minutes, we'll be talking about their interest in a Liverpool youngster. So, Michael Olise is one of the exceptional talents of present day. But he's not irreplaceable. He's very replaceable. What he does, there are other players that can do it in the right system. They may not be the perfect fit. They may not do it pound for pound, but they can pull it off. Rio Dandy says, sir, have to live the life. Bye. Thank you so much, Rio Dandy, for your time. I always appreciate it. So, anyways, so reports started to emerge today that Real Madrid are interested in making. He said, and this is according to Fabrizio Romano at least, Florentino Perez plans to launch 150 million euro official bid on Tuesday for Michael Olise. Despite denying his name alive, the main star in president's mind is Olise, as reported by the Telegraph. Bayern's Yuri Honeb said no chance to sell, not even for 200 million euros. That's what they say. Because ideally, they wouldn't want to sell. That's the honest bit. But like I said, the decision involves two parties. Two parties. The player and the club. If the player signals a desire to leave or to join Real Madrid, obviously the club can stand in his way to say you're still under contract, you are a player and you'll continue to play here for as long as we deem it so. They can take that stance. They can take that stance and they will be right and well within their means to do that. But if the player expresses interest in leaving, I don't think it would go to the extent of submitting a transfer request or otherwise, but it can also get to that if he feels it's the right time, because this is like entrepreneurship. If you run a small business that is really, really doing well in terms of numbers, in terms of sales, one of what defines an entrepreneur is that intuition to know when to scale the business without necessarily affecting the efficiency and effectiveness of the operations of the business. So in other words, if you're Michael Olise and you're thinking, I've had 2 stellar seasons with Bayern Munich, now is the time to upgrade. I mean, upgrades do not come any better than Real Madrid. Barcelona, Bayern Munich at the same level. I'd want to believe so. Real Madrid is just a step ahead. So we'll have to wait and see how things go with that, or with that whole deal, and whether Florentino Perez will get it his way. We can only hope. As Real Madrid fans, we can only hope that be the case. So we just have to wait. Obviously, every club has their crown jewelry who they say that is untouchable. That can be true. Lamine Yamal is that for Barcelona. Kylian Mbappe today is that for Real Madrid. Michael Olise, Luis Diaz are that for Bayern Munich. But at the end of the day, money talks. And when money speaks, sometimes people listen. Or at least sometimes people are forced to listen. So that's the situation with Real Madrid and their pursuit for a marque signing. Now, today, staying in Spain, Lamine Yamal was voted or did win the La Liga Player of the Season for the 2025-2026 campaign, having had a 28-goal involvement with 16 goals and 12 assists in 28 games. That's quite really, really impressive for the youngster, whose season, by the way, has been troubled by injuries. Imagine you take out those injuries and it doesn't mean miss those other 10 La Liga games, what his numbers would have looked like. For the last 3 seasons, he's looked really, really consistent and improving week in, week out. Sometimes you sit there and imagine. We've asked a question before. Is he the next Lionel Messi? Not that he is as good as a talent, but he is as good as a prospect. So we can only hope. It will be a joy to watch him over the next many, many years. If he can, 1, stay grounded and disciplined, 2, injury-free. For as long as he meets that criteria, we'll be here to enjoy watching him play. Okay, moving on. When it comes to transfers, in an exclusive, as broken or revealed by, before we go to the exclusive, let me digest some of these other comments. Okay, Rio Dandy said, sir, I saw your Instagram profile a few days ago. Don't mind me, but I will recommend you keep your face/body a little more distant from the camera in Reels. Reels are cutouts from videos. Reels are cutouts from videos. So basically, we'll have to wait and see. So, okay, about that. For example, if I shoot a video in landscape, and I convert it to, let's say, a real format. In other words, I convert it from being a landscape to being it's what, 9:12, something like that. You know, the vertical format of TikTok and Reels and etc. To that, it looks weird if I leave that whole landscape format. I have to zoom it in a little bit, and therefore that's why it comes off that way in some of those reels. Okay, but thanks for the advice. I'll take it under advisement. Okay. I've seen the light glares. I've seen the light glares at your face a little too excessively. Oh, it does happen. It does happen. If there's any one of the things I struggle with is lighting. Lighting is something I struggle with because I rely on the usual light of a room. You have a light bulb over you. I do not have these other supportive lightings, maybe in the sides or overhead the camera and things like that. So light balance is something that troubles me. Even when I shoot during day, you've seen some videos appear a bit dark, and sometimes it's you set the camera otherwise, and then it changes during the course of the shoot. And because you're shooting with the back camera, you've not noticed that something has changed, so you keep shooting and you only realize it at the end of when you're editing. And I'm not very good when it comes to editing, when it comes to light balancing, colors, etc. The way I edit is cut from start to end. If there's maybe a mishap, a mispronunciation or something that I need to cut up, etc. My microphone is out of battery. I don't know what happened, but it appears one of my microphones is spoiled. It runs out of battery so quickly. I don't know what happened to it. I really don't know. But I'll be hoping for the best. Anyways, hope we are back on that. Okay, I've responded to that. Raymond said, hi, Victor Munoz and Yona Zodak and Jaquin Ewin, the signings for Newcastle. I've seen Newcastle have agreed to sign a goalkeeper from Stade Rennes. Is it Stade Rennes? The goalkeeper that you had mentioned a couple of days ago. Yes. Sorry, from Reims, not Stade Rennes, from Reims. That's Newcastle to sign Ewin Joaquin from Reims for £24 million. Deal done, and here we go. That's according to Fabrizio Romano. So I think you've been spot on for that, and I'll give you your flowers. Raymond Kangumba. Ashimbamba does rejoin us, I think, from Ghana. I think you say Man City should really try their best to get Elliot Anderson. I do not think Tonali will fit Maresca setup. I don't know. Let's assess that one in a bit. So yeah, in terms of Newcastle, first of all, Newcastle are going to. First of all, they've needed a good goalkeeper for quite some time. That's why they went for Aaron Ramsdale on loan. I don't know if they will be looking to make that move permanent or otherwise, but it looks like they are willing to, or trying to move away from Nick Pope as things stand, because He's been bang average last season. And then remember, without European football, they're going to be moving on some players to try and finance their own squad rebuild in a way. And we've already seen the departure of Anthony Gordon. I do suspect at least one or two more significant players are bound to leave Newcastle. Either Lewis Hall, Sandro Tonali, or Sandro Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes. I do not know in the exactness of terms, but at least there's an expectation that at least one of those players will be moving. I've read reports that Mikel Arteta is convinced beyond reasonable doubt that for his midfield replacement or backup, he wants Sandro Tonali. He wants Sandro Tonali to further build that formidable midfield. And reports do seem to suggest that he would cost them at least £100 million if they want to sign him. I do not think he's worth that, but if you're the seller, you dictate the terms of the price of the commodity that you're selling, especially if you have not put it up for sale, but somebody is trying to tempt you into selling that commodity. So in that sort of aspect. Okay, just briefly, still about Raymond. Okay. Raymond, you did say, okay. Raymond, you did say if Saudi Arabia owners should sell Newcastle now 25% to Amanda Stevali. I think we've discussed that before. But when it comes to your other Victor Munoz, sometimes when you say Victor Munoz, initially my thoughts had rushed to Daniel Munoz of Crystal Palace. That's where my mind had raced to. But you're talking at the youngster at Osasuna, Victor Munoz. He's a winger at Osasuna, only 22 years of age. Did score 6 goals and provided 2 assists last season. So let's hope for the best. Let's see if you will be able to pull off that one, as well as Yuna Zodak and see. Okay. I think I've read all those comments. Patel, thank you. Lashkush, we've discussed the Olise news. You say, I think Barcelona, okay. I read that one as well. Okay. And then, okay, let's go to Ashimbamba's comment regarding Manchester City. You said, now, Manchester City is one of the clubs that have done their due diligence or background work really, really, really sufficiently well to the extent of Elliot Anderson. They have been linked with the move for him all throughout the campaign, and they have already made their initial offer to sign him. That offer was rejected by Nottingham Forest, but they'll keep trying again. He is their most prized target for their midfield. Remember, they've lost Bernardo Silva. Chances are they could lose Rodrigo Hernandez Cascante in that midfield because he did say he will decide after the World Cup where his future lays. Real Madrid are interested in him. So Mateo Kovacic could be leaving this summer. You never know. So they're going to need some midfield reinforcements to help Nico Gonzalez and Tijan Riendas as some of the players that are staying in that central midfield role. And Elliot Anderson is that player. Obviously, they've been linked with the potential move for Enzo Fernandez from Chelsea because I think they have a good relationship between Enzo Maresca and Enzo Fernandez. We'll have to wait and see whether they can be able to pull that one off if that interest is firm. But our chances are high that Enzo Fernandez could stay at Chelsea. But for Elliot Anderson, he will be leaving Nottingham Forest. According to BBC Sport, he is more inclined to make the switch to Manchester City than he would to Manchester United. So we just have to wait and see how far that story will unfold in the context of the summer that has the World Cup. My reservation and communication has been that because of the World Cup, a lot of these prized assets or players that appear to be marque signings, ideally, all clubs would want to make those deals happen before the World Cup or before the end of the World Cup. And why? Because a player could go to the World Cup, have a brilliant tournament, and then that in a way raises their price tag. Hi, Amelia. Good to have you back. You say Hala Madrid. Amelia, quick question to you. Do you think you will be able to pull off the signing of Michael Olise? Bayern Munich are adamant they are not willing to sell. even if it's for 200 million euros. But what are your views? And is Michael Olise the ideal candidate that you would want to see for a marquee signing in as far as a right winger is concerned? Your views and thoughts on that one. Now, let's move on to Bayern Munich still staying at Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich have expressed interest in signing Liverpool youngster Rio Ngomoha. In as far as the Premier League is concerned, I don't think I've been more impressed by many youngsters than I have been with Max Dorman and Rio Ngomoha. The numbers may not be highly pronounced for him, but I remember watching him in that 3-2 victory against Newcastle earlier on in the season, and in bits of Amelia says Perez back to his business, I've seen those flashes of brilliancy every time I've seen him. He's good on the ball. He runs well with the ball. He's not afraid of taking on players. So he's just not a runner with the ball in running into space. He also likes taking on players and taking on defenders. He will bring the ball to you. And as soon as he has a tiny little bit of space, he's always looking to shoot. So as a young talent, only 17 years of age, I would anticipate that with more coaching, and as much as I would have loved it to be under Andoni Iraola, I think it would also serve him well, even if it were under Vincent Kompany. Polished up, he is going to be one of those players that are really, really good. Remember, Liverpool signed him from Chelsea when he parted ways with Chelsea, and his case went to the tribunal, and Liverpool were tasked to pay, I think, about £2.8 million to Chelsea, and then they are tasked to pay a further £4 million in achievable add-ons over time. So that is the case of Rio Ngomoha. But according to David Austin, Bayern Munich are exploring a move to sign Rio Ngomoha, 17-year-old Liverpool winger, primary Bayern Munich target for the left side, and aware of pursuit. No contact yet between clubs. Liverpool insists not for sale, plus to strengthen attack rather than weaken. Okay. Olise is at. Okay. Okay. Let me read your comments. Sometimes I try to read them off a different device, but it does not pay off as I intend it to happen. Okay. Amelia said Perez is back to his business. Europe is in danger as Perez is on shopping. But he said it isn't Olise. Real dandy. Isn't that what we said? That sometimes it's not what they say that we ought to believe. And we earlier on in this broadcast, I was referring to the conversation that we were having last night between you and I, speculating on who that, marquee signing was bound to be. It looks like right from the onset, when we made the suggestion of Michael Olise, were quite spot on, but because he later on denied that it was Michael Olise, that's how we deviated and ended up to a potential Luis Figo 2.0, having the discussion about Lamine Yamal and then moving on to Kivica Kvaratskhelia. Okay, Reluctant Gamer says, hey, brother, hey to you too, brother, Reluctant Gamer. I hope you're doing good. Then you're looking fresh. Thank you so much. Olise, in addition to the mystery signing, not really. I don't think. Okay, we've assessed the needs of Real Madrid, and we've spoken about them needing an extra centre back, a central holding midfielder, and then somebody to the right wing. And if you get Michael Olise, then you're basically good to go in as far as the right wing is concerned. Then for the central midfield, then maybe you get Rodrigo or Rodri, as he's predominantly known for Manchester City. Or even if it is not him, I do not know, you go out and search for somebody. But some of the signings that Real Madrid will make are going to depend on some of the departures. Because, for example, if where Dani Ceballos leaves, you must find a squad replacement. Whether they look at it to say Thiago Pina from the academy will be that player that fills that void for the foreseeable future, good and well. Eduardo Camavinga, I think they need to sell him and get something out for him, and we move on from him. That would then mean that Tchouaméni stays and Fede Valverde, even though I am of a speculative nature that at least Fede Valverde and Tchouaméni, one of them could end up leaving. But if you had to press me on who I think would leave out of those two, I'm more inclined towards Tchouaméni. However, Jose Mourinho could have a whole different view about that. So we'll have to wait and see. Then I think and then Brahim Diaz. I think they need to move on from Brahim Diaz and find a replacement for a squad player. Brahim Diaz he's kept on promising that elite football, but he's not delivered it to the extent for which we had hoped for. That's for the Moroccan international born in Spain. Okay. He got a fresh cut. Yeah, that's true. Guys, I struggle with having a lot of hair. So every 2 weeks, I find myself at the barber shop just to keep my head a bit sane. Okay. I'd still bet on Lamine Yamal. With Michael Olise being openly discussed, clearly, maybe Florentino Perez knows that if in the world of possibilities, if two of them are capable of happening, Michael Olise could be an easier target to pull off, an easier deal to pull off than Lamine Yamal. But in case Olise fails, maybe they tempt Barcelona. You never know. We'll have to wait and see. Okay, I think they need an 8 rather than a 6 because Tchouaméni is solid. Camavinga is the one that's been off from in the 8. Jude is a bit of a forward. He's awkward. Fede hasn't been trusted so much. Now, Fede has been moved all over the place. He's been played at right back. Tchouaméni was also played in centre-back role when they had majority of their centre-backs injured. Now, my problem with Tchouaméni is that, you see, let me give you the example of Karim Benzema. When Karim Benzema signs for Real Madrid, was it 2009 or slightly before? Around that period. I think slightly before. Or around the same time. When his ex-later Kaka joins Real Madrid, etc. Now, he was one of the hotcakes of strikers in as far as European football is concerned. But it wasn't until Cristiano Ronaldo leaves that he becomes the marksman of the team that we saw him live to his full potential when it came to banging in the goals. With Cristiano Ronaldo around, he remained a supportive figure to Cristiano Ronaldo largely as the star of the team. And to a certain extent, Gareth Bale in that BBC sort of partnership, Bale, Benzema, and Cristiano. You remember prior to Gonzalo Higuain, I think going to Napoli, he had also been part of that squad that was really, really full of good strikers. So for Tchouaméni, I'm yet to see him live to his full potential. That lack of consistency, that lack of command. I rarely watch a game and I come out of a Real Madrid game and I'm like, that was a commanding performance from Tchouaméni in that midfield. That's what I want to see. The way you watch Pedri at Barcelona and you're like, yeah, today the kid was balling. You know, I want to come out of a game and say that of him. The way we see Declan Rice, the way Vitinha does it, you know, the way Joshua Kimmich does it at Bayern Munich sometimes. I want to have that conviction, but I've not had it. And that's why I have a bone to pick with Tchouaméni. Okay. Now, when it comes to the 8, if they sign a 6, Tchouaméni can play as the 8. That's how I look at it. But also you have Fede Valverde that is good at that. When it comes to box prowess, Fede Valverde is one of the best there is. He has a good passing range. He has good control. He has the athleticism. He has the energy to run back and forth. But more importantly, also, he has that eye for goal from distance. So he has it in his locker room. to be one of the best eights there is in the world. That's how highly I rate Fede Valverde. But last season, he's been moved all over the place, really. Okay, you say Fede got moved to right back and was upset. I mean, obviously, players who play in those roles, I don't think Dominic Szoboszlai has always been happy every time he's been moved to right back. It is only come out of necessity. So, similarly for Real Madrid, it was always out of necessity, not because that's where they would want to play him. He operates better as a midfielder than he would as a right back. But if the team needs you to do that, you go and do that. As a Manchester United fan, you must remember John O'Shea, and whether it meant being in the goal, he went unserved. Whether it meant going and play as a winger, he went unserved. Whether it was as a defender, he went unserved. As a midfielder, he was happy to serve. Obviously, I would struggle to tell you what his strongest position was, but at least it's about helping the team win, especially when such need arises. Okay, I think Jose would keep Tchouaméni over Valverde. It will depend. It will depend on the grid, because you see, yes, Mourinho loves black players, but more importantly, he loves hardworking players. And for me, I find Fede Valverde a very good hard worker. So if any of them is willing to run for him through the wall, he will keep them. He will be happy to keep both of them. And Camavinga could be the one that ends up being sacrificed. Okay, but I do not think it's unthinkable that he ends up keeping both. Brahim Diaz is a nice squad player for the right side. He has a left foot. I mean, you see, Brahim Diaz has been at Real Madrid more like what's the name? The Lucas Vazquez kind of player. But every time he's called upon to action, today he will deliver and tomorrow he won't. And I'm the kind of person that appreciates his talent and quality that is sufficient to be starting regularly in a team. So, in a way of omitting him out of that squad and wanting a replacement is, I wish him to go and get regular football and we see him live to his full potential. Because at Real Madrid, it looks like he's never going to break through that starting 11 consistently unless somebody else is injured. So that's how I look at it. I hope I'm wrong, but I also hope I'm right. Okay, haha, nice, bro. I hear you. To be honest, I do not rate Fede, but I guess it's about style preferences. We know Jose Mourinho as a coach. He likes players that are about the grit. He's not about your fanciness. No. And if you need any example, you ought to reflect on the likes of Juan Manuel Mata. He's not about those players with, the trickeries on the ball, etc. He's about players that are willing to put in the shift when it comes to the fight. Be willing to put you to have skin in the game. Put your body on the line. For as long as you're willing to run all night, that's what he wants. Hard work. And also, in that hard work, do the simple things. Do not try to complicate it. That's why, I don't know. I've never looked at him as the kind of manager. If you have these soft skills, those sort of silky players, the Eric Lamelas of this world, the Juan Manuel Matas of this world, you must be really, really a special talent for Jose Mourinho to accommodate your weaknesses off of the ball like he did accommodate Mesut Ozil at Real Madrid, because he knew he was that special talent when it came to creating the chances for the others. And everybody else was tasked with the running, winning the ball back, give it to Mesut Ozil, and here we go. He will find the perfect pass to find Cristiano Ronaldo and bang on, we are on to go. To find the Karim Benzema, to find whoever he needed to find to get Real Madrid a goal. So you must be really, really of that special a talent for him to acknowledge what he would pass, what he feels would be passing for your inefficiency, especially when it comes to overall work rate off of the ball. By the way, there's a misconception about Mesut Ozil, largely because of his body language. But when it came to running after the ball, not so many players did better than he did. So he was that good. Okay, hi Viola, good to have you on the podcast. Unfortunately, okay, let me not say that. let me not be the bearer of bad news for you this evening. Okay, where did I stop with the comments? Okay, you say, yeah, was awesome with that, or she was awesome with that. I'll never forget Sashi's chip at Highbury either. Need you have to remind us of that? Anad says, sorry, is it Anad or Anad? Says hi. You say, yes, fair. Maybe he should go to Bayern as a backup to Olise, Brahim Diaz. That's who you're talking about. Wherever it slices, wherever it falls. I just feel, for me, I feel that the quality of talent is in there. Just look at his performances at the recently concluded Africa Cup of Nations in 2025. He was the tournament top scorer. That doesn't come by coincidence. He's good at popping in the right spaces, coming off the right wing. Also, he can play for you as a 10. The talent is there. He just needs to find the right team to express himself a little more consistently, week in, week out. Look at a player like Adagula, really sublime, you know, and he's been one of the best players I've watched in a Real Madrid shirt this season, alongside Alvaro Carreras. Yeah, they've been some of my standout players outside of the likes of Kylian Mbappe, in a way. True, you are right. Mourinho has never been a fan of such players. I'm sure he's out the project. So yeah, for as long as he feels that you have that body language that has a bit of a lackluster, you know there are players who by body language come off as really lazy. And Michael Olise, by the way, is one of those players. Cole Palmer, like I said about Mesut Ozil, those players that you watch on the pitch, one Manel matter, that off of the ball, they look like they're not helping the team that much. But as soon as they receive the ball, then they are willing to make the magic happen. That's when you see how good they really are. And I've always made the argument that it doesn't matter whatever the team is. Every team usually has that player with that sort of weakness in them that when it comes to chasing the ball, they're not very good at it. But as soon as you win the ball back, you can trust them with the ball, no matter where they are standing on the pitch, because they are that good on the ball. So I think because especially in this era of football where everybody is tasked to, when we lose the ball, you must, start running as quickly as possible. You're the first line of defense, etc., that sort of thing, So I feel every team has that player. Sometimes the finger is pointed to Bruno Fernandes at Manchester United, even though the numbers will show otherwise. He's one of the players that really does a lot of running and helping with the counter press. But maybe I could use the example of, I don't know who. Let me see. For example, Eberechi is at Arsenal. When it comes to the counter press, it's not his cup of tea. But when you give him the ball, you can trust that he's capable of coming up with something good, and pulling off something. The same thing happens with Riongo Moha at Liverpool. I look at him as that. You've watched Mo Salah over the last many years at Liverpool. This business of counter pressing, especially as his years came to advance, he sort of adapted to this game to not to be about the guy that is going to help you a lot when it comes to the counter press, but hand him the ball and then you will see his effectiveness and how well he helps the team. So for me, Amore is okay for a team to have that kind of player for as long as they are that good a talent. But the second homecoming, let me ask, is Jose Mourinho lucky or he's created his own luck? Because having two stints at Real Madrid, it's not unique in a way, because even Fabio Capello had that, because he was there in 1996, winning them the La Liga title, and then he came back and won them the La Liga title in 2006. I think they beat Real Mallorca on the final day by 3-1. Jose Antonio Reyes scored a brace in that one. But he's had 2 spells with Chelsea and now 2 spells with Real Madrid. Has he created his own luck or his luck? Okay, Viola says hi to Amelia. Okay, so that is that when it comes to Jose Mourinho, when it comes to Real Madrid and the transfers. But also now, Manchester United are targeting a Middlesbrough midfielder called Hayden Hackney. Now, Everton are also interested. They are also interested. I don't know if they see him as an absolute starter. I hope he does not end up being a Tyler Dibling, because I did not appreciate the level of hype with which Tyler Dibling came to Everton last summer and the kind of football that he was accommodated or that he played. That's a total mismatch. And the talent is there. So I'm there thinking to myself, because at a club like Manchester United, you must be really, really exceptional to break through that starting 11. The way we saw Marcus Rashford coming from the academy. Look at a player like Chido Martin Obi. He failed to break through that Manchester United side. So for a player, I understand the age profile is a bit different. He's 23. And you're still a prospect, because coming from Middlesbrough to be a starter at Manchester United can be a huge leap. So you must think of it that way. There's a part of me that imagines that maybe he needs to be bet a bit more, because he's far from a finished product, the way I look at it, So, but according to David Austin, Everton are in talks with Middlesbrough over his signature. 23-year-old is keen on the possibility of joining Everton, although ongoing interest from other clubs plus Middlesbrough are prepared for the championship playoff. He's entering the final 12 months of his contract as per David Austin. So we just have to wait and see which club will be able to win over his services. Okay, you say I think Hackney happens if Mount leaves, but Mount is hard to get rid of because of injury and wages. Yeah, I think it will be really, really hard to move on. Viola is asking about Morgan Gibbs-White to Chelsea. A Morgan Gibbs-White deal to pull him out of Nottingham Forest is always going to be a difficult one. Chelsea can try, because they have proven that they are capable of signing any player that they so wish to have. And I think it would be a good support player for Cole Palmer, because he plays in the same role. And the question is, because in convincing him to join, you also must convince him that he will have the reasonable playing time. Because for as long as Cole Palmer is fit, he's going to start in that number 10 role. Unless Xabi Alonso is going to play with a double 10, the way Crystal Palace operate. Back 3 wing backs, 2 central midfielders, 2 number 10s, and a striker. That is how it would be easy for him to break into that Chelsea side. So ideally, let's assume Chelsea set up with Robert Sanchez. They have, let's say, Jorel Hato as the left-sided footed centre-back. They would have, let's say, a Levi Colwill and a Wesley Fofana to the right. And then you have Cucurella to the left. You have Reche James to the right. Then you have maybe Moises Caicedo alongside Enzo Fernandez. Then you play Morgan Gibbs-White alongside Cole Palmer. And then you have a Joao Pedro leading the lines, or a Nicolas Jackson, whoever you choose to be your striker. I know you have Liam Delap, but me and Liam Delap, I think he doesn't believe in me, because it is not me believing in him anymore. That is how I look at it. Liam Delap, he has to prove himself otherwise. So, Viola, he is still not single, but I am single. United Road 10. I see where. Anyway, you are allowed to shoot your shot. But I see where you're taking this conversation to. Viola, if you're ready to go and do your medicals at Old Trafford, you have a safe passage with United vote 10. Anyways, you're allowed to say so. You're allowed to say so. It's all good. It's all good. Just submit in your papers and let Viola assess them. If you pass all the merits, if you pass the medical, yeah, Viola is a Chelsea fan, by the way. And it's a good thing that in the history or in the context of the English game, there's not much of a rivalry between Chelsea and Manchester United, other than it being a big game to be played. She's the marque signing. Wow, good luck. I wish you all the very best. Viola, come out of hiding, stop blushing, and respond to United vote 10 for now. Anyways, so those are some of the major transfer stories that are making the headlines thus far. Obviously, excuse me, guys. Obviously, there's more bigger stories coming through as the days go by, because it's that period of the year. United, she is thinking about what you said. Okay, let's wait and see. Enrique says the manager they want is Jurgen Klopp. That is Enrique Riquelme, the presidential hopeful for Real Madrid. He would rather bring in Jurgen Klopp as the next Real Madrid manager if things go the way. Then AC Monaco and Barcelona have now completed all formal steps for Ansu Fati to move permanently. Now, this is what I was saying yesterday about Barcelona or Spanish La Liga teams with their exaggerated release clauses. Particularly Barcelona are very fond of that. A couple of years ago, Ansu Fati had a release clause of €1 billion in his contract. Today, he's being signed to AC Monaco for €11 million. Now, the gap between the release clause of €1 billion and the €11 million is the gulf between my net worth and that of Bill Gates. Miles and miles apart. Miles and miles apart. Because imagine you wanted to buy an item, an asset worth €1 billion, and you want to pay €11 million as your first installment. They will definitely laugh you out of the room, So basically, that's the point I'm trying to make. Anyways, for Fenerbahce, equally, their elections are ongoing. They are preparing to choose, a president, and one of the presidential hopefuls in Hakan Asafi, he says they have already reached an agreement with Mason Greenwood that the deal is ready until June 2030. If he wins the election, he will be signing Mason Greenwood. Remember, Atletico de Madrid are equally interested in the services of Mason Greenwood, for which Manchester United have a very fat sell-on clause on his deal that let him go to join Olympique Marseille. Okay, to read some of your comments. Jesus Christ. Who sent Viola in hiding or into quietness? Rio Dandy says, sir, who do you think is the goalkeeper's GOAT of all time? Goalkeepers? That's a difficult question. But I'll speak to those that have had the opportunity of watching. And briefly, historically, in terms of the clips. First of all, there's the likes of Kasper Schmeichel, Iker Casillas, Gigi Buffon, Manuel Neuer would enter that bracket, Oliver Kahn would be in that bracket, Thibaut Courtois. But because present day, I think my most appreciated goalkeeper is Thibaut Courtois. If I take myself a little backwards, I think I appreciated Oliver Kahn a little more for goalkeepers that were within that sort of generation. So it's hard for me to tell you who the greatest of all time is that will be globally accepted. But in my humble opinion, I think I would go with Oliver Kahn. Lashku says, hope so. I'm waiting. Okay. Audio only says South Africa, boys, 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 kings of Africa. Let's wait and see. Audio only. Do you think South Africa will be able to beat Mexico in the opening fixture of the World Cup? Your views and thoughts on that. Something strange happened with Osimhen. Have you seen the report? Not yet. What happened with Victor Osimhen? Kindly indulge me on that one. But if it is pertaining with the Super Eagles, those ones always have their shenanigans. Either they are bickering about allowances or hotels or, things like that. It's not immune to African football. Lashkush says, never waited for the World Cup like this year. Trust. Okay. Let's hope you'll have the chance to enjoy it. Viola said Fofana, in other words, Fofana is not liked or loved in that area. That is what she's referring to. Now, I think Wesley Fofana, for me, by the way, I rate Wesley Fofana really high. He's one of Chelsea's good centre backs. Injuries have not done him well for him to have the consistent level play, because players improve with game time. The more they play, the more they improve their craft. One of the most improved defenders that I've had the chance to watch, and this season in season art, has been Gabriel Magalhaes at Arsenal. If you take yourself back to 2020 when they signed him to the Gabriel Magalhaes you see today, you'll appreciate that given time and consistency and that trust to play game in, game out, it will improve your game. Then I'd say the same that maybe Lenior needs at Manchester United, although this sort of senior level can be very, very unforgiving, especially depending on the stage at where the club is at. For example, if you are at a club, because at the time when Gabriel Magalhaes came to Arsenal, they had fallen down to being a mid-table team in a way. So, so he was given the room to make his mistakes and then grow in the game, and build his craft. And yet, if you are to transpose the same situation to Manchester United as of present day, where Manchester United, the kind of space that Manchester United have entered in, especially with the aspiration of winning the Premier League title in the season of 2028, not much time is going to be accommodated to you to hone your craft, especially as a starter, So in that sort of respect. Today, no one is single. United Road has already submitted his application and you're asking today nobody is single? Come on, Viola. Pretend not to be blind. I'm not happy. Okay. United Road says, Viola, I'm being serious, but you ignored my approach. Okay. Have a crack at it. United Road said the Super Eagles coach said he isn't in the friendly squad because he is negotiating transfers, but Galatasaray said that they aren't aware of any offers. So Fabrizio was saying it's a confusing situation. That's African players for you and their agents. Now, okay, here's what happens with the transfer. Ordinarily, how a transfer works. If, let's say, I'm a buying club and I'm interested in signing Viola to Arsenal, allow me use the example of Arsenal as a club I represent and want to sign Viola or want to sign United Road 10. Ordinarily, as a representative of the club, I reach out to your agent as United Road 10 as Viola. I reach out to your agent and say, we are interested in signing your player. Do you think you would be interested in joining our club? And if there is a certain level of optimism that it is a possibility that the player would be interested, obviously with the agent on the other side relaying his conversations or having the chat with his client, if we get this positive signal that the player would be open, then we start to ask about what do you think would be the terms and conditions? Because remember, the agent is privy to the terms and conditions of the player's contract at their current club. In things like, is there a release clause? Is there, what's his wages? Obviously, the agent may not be at liberty to reveal such information to the extent of the wages, but would be responding to what he believes would be acceptable wages for him, for his client. And then once all that is positive and they have a fair share of the knowledge, or I have a fair share knowledge about that situation, that is when you then move to the club level to say, we are interested in signing your player X, Y, and Z. Are you willing to entertain offers? Obviously, the club could say maybe no, and how much would it cost? And those conversations are a bit cagey in a way, because a selling club is not going to outrightly tell you we want 40 million pounds. Obviously, they will set a very high fee. And once there's that, but once you have a green light on the player side, that is when you make the club to club approach to say, we are interested, because I have a valuation of that player. The selling club has their own valuation. So I'll come in and say, I want to sign a United Road 10 for maybe let's say £1 million. And then United say, no, that's too little. That's bang average, we want £10 million. And then negotiations go on from there until we reach an agreement, maybe of £6.5 million, and then the deal is done. So I understand if Victor Osimhen is negotiating a transfer deal, the conversation could still be at that agent level and whatever the prospector's buying club is. And maybe he's directly involved in those conversations with his agent, or at least he's speaking on his behalf before even the agent is speaking. So it could be the situation. Okay. Viola said, Rod, I didn't see you. Time. United. Viola, yes. Do you have Instagram or email? Lashgush says, pushing bro. Why the Ghana match is cancelled today? It was cancelled due to public health reasons. That is the communication that the organizers of the match received from the Royal Moroccan Football Federation. They did not explain beyond that, so it was cancelled. It was said to be against Tanzania. You said true. United Road. Vala says United Road. Is your pocket rich? United Viola, let me give you a hint. United Road may have yet to buy me a coffee, but trust me, his pockets are well sufficient. So, United, you understand now? Okay, you guys are going quiet on that. But anyways, that's the situation. That's how transfers operate. So with Nigeria or with players, remember, players also want to secure their future. And the sooner it happens, maybe the better they will be, the better they will be. So sometimes national team duty has to take a back step and they get certain business out of the way. So Rafael Liao was speaking today, and he did say, I want a new challenge out of the Serie A. I follow the Premier League with great attention. If I have the opportunity to play there or La Liga, I would be really happy because my talent would be exalted there. Let's see what will happen this summer. He was talking to Sport TV, and then he also said for the team work during the season and how we played, I do not think I was put in condition to play in the position that allows me to make the difference this season. I played for 4 to 5 months with an injury. Add to this playing out of position, what made me reach the end of my exhaustedness, something like that. So looks like Rafael Leao has his sights set on the Premier League or the Spanish La Liga. Like for me, I previously said, any of these clubs would be really glad to have a player of his quality. Arsenal, Manchester United, Liverpool, Chelsea, be Tottenham Hotspurs, any top club in the Premier League would be really blessed to have a player of his talent. And then as far as the Spanish La Liga is concerned, maybe Atletico de Madrid, maybe Villarreal, Maybe Real Betis, I don't know if they can afford his services, because sometimes some of those La Liga teams struggle with players that demand for high wages, so it could be an issue. Then today, Andy Robertson was confirmed officially as a Tottenham Hotspur signing, as a deal was reached for him to put pen to paper as a new Tottenham player, and Marco Senesi is going to be the next one. I don't know what conversation you guys are having, but United what? Okay, easy. Well, it depends your expectations. Let's talk in private. That's a United vote 10. I need to know what else is important to you. Hopefully, more things. Okay, Jesus Christ, I can't believe I'm doing this. Okay, players who play World Cups, do they have any days off, bro? They're normal robots. It's crazy. Hardly do you get days off per se, but I'll give you an example. For example, if Mexico play the opening game on the 11th of June and their next game is like on the, let's say, 16th, they could get a day off, especially the day immediate to after the game. They could have that day off, and then for the subsequent day they do recovery training and then start preparing for the next game. It depends on the gap that there is between one game and the other and the working mechanisms of some coaches. Some coaches do not want to give players days off. They will summon you for the subsequent day after the game to do at least some recovery training or light training, and then do some video analysis or review of the game that you played to point to you out what your inefficiencies were, what was good and what you need to improve on, and things like that. Then individual player meetings with coaches to see how players can best improve and things like that. So basically that is what tentatively would happen. Okay. Not okay. What's your thoughts on the price slapped on Elliot Anderson? I don't think he's that high level. It's UKPR. United Road 10. Kindly indulge me. What's the price that has been slapped on him? Because I know there's one that I know, but before I reveal it, first tell me what the one you know. Because, okay, I almost revealed it. So first let me know the one you know. I know there's one that I know, and I certainly do not agree with it. Not even for a single bit. Okay. Vala said no money, no deal. I was about to say something, but then I realized it could burn my lips. So, anyways, well, I just mean in terms of that they rejected £100 million. I believe £100 million. Is that what they really rejected? I mean, Nottingham Forest should be lucky that there's even a club willing to pay £100 million. First of all, yes, he's 23 years. He's just starting to hit his prime and things like that. But any fee beyond £70 million is a blessing. But like I say, when you're signing an English player, there's the English players tax, then there is the Premier League tax, and then there's the being the big club tax. So that is what cumulatively builds to that sort of price tag. If Newcastle went to Nottingham Forest and they said, we want to sign Elliot Anderson, and they are willing to spend £80 million, they'll get him. But if Man United comes, if Man City comes, that is when they're like, these guys make the money. After all, they are always finishing in the top 2, top 3 every season. So they make more money than us. So we'll ask for £100 million. According to the BBC Sport, Nottingham Forest want up to £120 million. Now, unfortunately for us, Chelsea did us dirty when they set that precedent of approximately £115 million in signing Moses Caicedo from Brighton a couple of years ago. So there is sort of precedent to say Caicedo cost that, therefore this is what we want for our player. But ideally, it shouldn't cost no more than 70 million pounds in guaranteed fees and maybe 10 million pounds in expected add-ons. But if you also remember that Man City signed Jack Grealish for 100 million pounds, that is there. Declan Rice cost 105 million pounds, 100 guaranteed and 5 in add-ons. I did not agree with the price tag. I thought 85 should have sufficed. But that English tax and the big clubs tax. Last summer, Liverpool went and signed Florian Wirtz for 100 million pounds, a 22-year-old attacking midfielder. So there's lots of precedents for Nottingham Forest to say, look at what all these players have cost over the last 3 years. And therefore, we are well within our means to be demanding for that. So I do not think there's lots of players that get be bought and we agree with the price tag that is being slapped on them, especially English players. I remember many years ago when I think it was Ken Dalglish that was in charge of Liverpool when they signed Andy Carroll from Newcastle for then what was 35 million pounds. I never agreed with the price tag. And the mere fact that it never worked out was evident of that. I thought 20 million pounds at the time should have sufficed for Andy Carroll, you know? So it is quite unfortunate, but in terms of the price tags, they're going to be as exaggerated as you get them every now and then in as far as signing some of these players goes. Okay. But part of it is also PR. Remember, by the way, if a club is willing to sell a player, they'll leak some information to the media to say, we value the player at this amount of money. So if you are the buying club, let's say you're Man City and you want to buy Elliot Anderson, and Nottingham Forest have already leaked to the press that their valuation is 100 million pounds. So it's 120 million pounds. If you are willing to start to negotiate at 80 million pounds, that means by the mere fact of reading that story, it is going to compel you to improve your initial offer from possibly 80 to 90. So sometimes there's a bit of media influence. Sometimes it's agents leaking that information because they know if I put this information out there and I'm having conversations with the club that currently has my client, I could get a commission off of that. Ordinarily, it is the buying club that would pay a commission. But in some cases, it is the selling club that pays a commission to the player's agent, depending on how negotiations go. You know, so there's that. So in other words, an agent will be say, if I prop up this player and you're able to sell him for 100 million pounds, do you think I can get 5 million pounds in commission fees? And then they start pushing the conversation. And before you know it, they have it their way. So transfer dealings can be a bit, challenging in that sense. Okay. A great player in sports, Ken is in trouble. Sorry. No, Katie is in trouble. I did not get that clearly, Viola, but I had one team maximum can play 8 matches till the final. Let's count them. You play 3 games at the group stages. You play a game at the round of 32. That's already 4. Round of 16, quarterfinals, semifinals. So 32, 16, quarter, semis. That's 4. Yeah, it will be 8 games to the final if you make it to the final. So it will be 8 games. Okay. Well, I just mean in terms of that they reject 100 million pounds, I believe. Okay. Yeah, true. United, you think your team will sign any star this summer? I think there's a huge possibility that Manchester United also pull off their own marquee signing before the transfer window closes. Ashkush, okay. Raymond says Jacqueline Ewing, deal done now, and Victor Munoz. Okay, that's okay. Yona Zodak, should also sign for Newcastle. That's from Raymond. I think you had submitted already on that. Okay. United Road responding to Lashkush says, I doubt it. The biggest star possibility is Chouameni, but I think Jose will make him one of the most important players of their project. That is a huge possibility. Raymond, you're repeating the same comments. We've had that conversation before about repeating the same comments. Which percentage is Morgan Rogers to Chelsea? Morgan Rogers to Chelsea, let me see. It's really hard to put a percentage on it, especially when interest has yet to be formalized. But I know that a lot of top Premier League clubs are interested in Morgan Rogers, even though Aston Villa would say they wouldn't want to sell. When it comes to Chelsea, the one thing that I've come to learn over the last couple of years is that if they want the player, they are willing to do whatever it takes to sign that player. You remember when suddenly Kai Havertz was put on was made available in the market? Chelsea said he was the kind of player that you had to sign. Not because you needed him, but he was that good. You come to January 2023 and Chelsea offered more money for Mykhailo Mudryk to beat Arsenal to his signature, coming out of Shakhtar Donetsk. You come to Romeo Lavia. Was it the summer of 2023? When Chelsea wanted to sign him from Southampton, Liverpool wanted to sign Romeo Lavia. Chelsea beat them to the punch. Same thing happened to Moises Caicedo. In fact, Jurgen Klopp had confirmed that Liverpool had a deal agreed in principle with Brighton for Moises Caicedo. Now, Chelsea came in with a bit more money, and Moises Caicedo had Chelsea as his dream club, so he ended up going the other way. So, when it comes to Chelsea, I can't necessarily put a percentage on it until they throw their hat in the ring to say, we are in the race for Morgan Rogers. And whatever happens after that, your guess is as good as mine. But they financially, they are capable of going toe-to-toe with any top sides for any top player. That's how I would want to look at it. So, okay. So, Viola and United Road 10, have you come to a certain level of agreement to continue this conversation beyond the comment section here? Viola, just put down your either email address or your Instagram handle, and United Road will be happy to slide into your DMs. You see, online we say sliding into those DMs. I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you, especially now that Rio Dand is not here. So I'm rooting for you guys. Morgan Rogers is another player I don't rate, but I respect. He gets the goals and assists. By the way, United Road 10, here's what you have to appreciate. In terms of technical abilities, there's not so many players that are excellent. Players that are going to run with the ball towards a defender, dribble past that defender before they get any business done. What we have predominantly are players good with running into spaces and occupying the right spaces and getting the goals and assists, you know. But if you're looking for that sort of intricate player, they do not come in huge numbers. They do not come in plenty these days. He doesn't have money. Really? What makes you think that? Do not judge a book by its cover. I know. Anyway, do not judge a book by its cover, is all I would say. Maybe let him put down his Instagram. You'll go and check out his Instagram. And maybe it will give you an insight in the kind of person he is. I do not mean to say that it will give you the perfect judgment of the kind of person that he is, but try your luck. Try your luck. There's no harm in trying. Anyways, so that's the bit with transfers, at least for today. we've talked about Lamine Yamal getting player of the season. We've talked about Real Madrid's interest and etc. Maybe a bit of transfer gossip and speculation. In as far as things are concerned today, let's see if what the latest is when it comes to that effect, as often compiled by BBC Sport. Okay. I don't think we'll repeat the shenanigans of Michael Olise. But former Liverpool manager Arne Slot, who was sacked by the Reds last week, has rejected the chance to take over as a Fulham boss in the wake of Marco Silva announcing he will be leaving London, according to TalkSport. By the way, it's one of those things that came to my mind when the job became vacant. I was like, Arne Slot, come back to the Premier League and prove to the world that you're better than we thought. Go to Fulham. Their ambitions are not as big as those of Liverpool. It will be a downgrade, by the way, but you can go and prove yourself, Okay, then Barcelona's move for Argentine striker Julian Alvarez has told an Atletico de Madrid are planning for next season with the 26-year-old among their ranks. While Arsenal are also interested, he's not keen on a move to London. That is according to Cadena Asa in Spanish. Chelsea's English striker Liam Delap, 23, could join Fulham if his former boss at Ipswich Town, Kieran McKenna, takes over from Marco Silva at Craven Cottage. That is according to TalkSport. Former Crystal Palace boss Oliver Glasner has the edge over US coach Mauricio Pochettino to become the new AC Milan manager. That is according to Gazzetta dello Sport in Italian. While AC Milan forward Rafael Leao says he needs a new challenge, with the Portuguese international believing a move to the Premier League or La Liga would suit him. We've already discussed that bit. And then RB Leipzig remain confident that 19-year-old Ivorian Coast forward Yan Diomande will stay at the club this summer, despite growing interest from Liverpool and their determination to land his services. No one needs to move forward. Okay. Lolo Viola, but why is that the first and dominant issue? Is a question. That's for you, Viola, to respond to. Anyways, we've already talked about Ewan Joaquin, the goalkeeper from Reims, signing for Newcastle. Then Tottenham manager Roberto Di Zerbi wants 19-year-old Croatian defender Luka Vuskovic to leave the club this summer. Newly promoted side Hull City are exploring the conditions of signing 19-year-old Venezuelan winger Luis Fernando Carrello from Deportivo Táchira there this summer, and then loan him to NK Maribo, according to Sky Sports. Then we've discussed Everton's interest in Hayden. Then Barcelona will move to sign Cucurella from Chelsea should they decide to sell fellow Spanish defender Alejandro Balde, 22, this summer. That is according to Marque in Spain. Looks like it's not only Atletico de Madrid that are interested in Marco Cucurella's services. Should Alejandro Balde be moved on by Barcelona, then they could turn their attentions on Chelsea's Marc Cucurella there. Okay, name says Olise is not coming. 3-peat trophyless. Here we go. Looks like name is taking an aim at Real Madrid. My internet is having problems right now, so I'm in and out a lot. It's understandable. Sometimes our ISPs misbehave, and I forget what your country of destination is. Maybe I could sort of relate more to it. Anyways, so that's a bit of it from tonight. Tomorrow morning, we'll be having a discussion about the World Cup and assessing the groups respectively, to see, giving my predictions on who I think will make it out of the groups from the first group to the 12th group. We'll be going through that bit by bit, giving sort of a snapshot of our expectations of the different World Cup groups. Like I said, today we put out a video regarding my favorites for the World Cup in regards to who I think will win it. You can go over to the channel and watch that. Okay, you, me, and United will be unbelievable trio analysts for the World Cup. Okay, let's wait and see. Viola says United wrote because men are not joking subjects. Really? Viola, why do you say we are not joking subjects? We are as humble, as innocent, as fragile as human beings come. Okay, do you plan to have call-in shows in the near future? It's not something that I'd considered, but it's a thought that you've introduced to me. I think it would require me to have a certain set of equipment that allows me to relay that sort of a setup where if a person called in to have a submission on a particular topic, they would be able to be heard by the audience. It would require me to have a certain set of equipment, which at the moment I do not have. But I'll take it into consideration for the foreseeable future, provided I'm able to get the right setup. There's a lot of things within my working space that need to be improved before we get to that sort of a realm. But that is the goal, ultimately, to have more engagement from the fans and the contribution. The appeal I want to make is that I want to get some club fans with whom I can have an engagement on their respective clubs, and we assess how the season went, what they think is in store for them going into the next season, and things like that. However, the mechanism of getting it done with remote people is still a bit of a challenge. Like I said, the good platforms are paid platforms, and I'm not yet in that space where I can pay for platforms like StreamYard to get some of these things out of the way. And the free versions of it are very, very limited. And I hate it with limited things, especially when it comes to that. But we will see what the possibilities are for the future to that effect. Anyways, unless there's something we missed out or skipped. But tomorrow the conversation will revolve around the World Cup and the group stages. And if there's any burning transfer news that will have broken through over the course of the night, we'll be here. Greetings to you, Lashkush, from Viola. Okay. Anyways, Rio Dandy, it was a pleasure to have you around. Raymond Kangumba, Lashkush, always a pleasure. Amelia, thank you for being with us. Reluctant Gamer, United Road 10, Viola, and Adnan. Then there was Name. Who else? Hope I've not skipped anybody. Audio only, and every single one of you that has been part of tonight's broadcast. Love is a dangerous group. Viola, they say love is for those who have been hurt before but still have the courage to try again. So whatever has happened previously or more recently, please find the courage to try again and give yourself a chance. I'm not, let me not limit myself to that. Okay, but it is what it is. We'll have to wait and see what your exploits will be. My friends, Linda Co. Okay, Viola is saying I should wait before we wrap it up here. United Road 10, come on. Viola is waiting for you. Viola is saying she's not leaving this space until she has an answer from Lashkush. And United Road 10 is said to have challenges with internet. So I do not know. But we have to wait. We have to heed to your requests. Customize the boss. So it is offensive. In this particular case, the fans are the bosses, because the mantra of the channel says, for the fans, by the fans. It is you that make it happen. It is because of you that I get to sit in this chair. So whatever you say, I'm always willing to give it a chance. So for those in hiding, Lashkush and United Road 10, please come out of the Kamori come out of the ventilations and respond to Viola before we call it a night. And do not make the lady wait. Otherwise, Viola, I hope you're doing all right. I hope you're doing all right. I'm still looking for that that decent blue kit. By the way, Chelsea, who is your kit designer? I know it's Nike making the kits, but who is the kit designer? I mean, were they bored? They must have been bored to do something very basic when it came to your kit. I'm here for you, no TikTok today. Sorry, internet problems. Well, play catch up United vote 10 and respond to Viola as quickly as possible. Viola is saying today is a day for YouTube, no TikTok. You see, Viola is accustomed to the space where we have multiple people engaging. And I'm considering having a trial engagement with people online in video for those that will be willing to join. And see how it goes. But it will be for predetermined people, for invites, and then we have the conversation and we see how it goes. Viola is saying our kits are fine. Not the one for next season. That home kit, really? Something is just off of it. First of all, it looks too basic. There's not much like of design in it. If they ask you what was the inspiration, you'd struggle. There's a blue kit that has a bit of a white swerve in it. That was better. At least. You know? But this one, United's kit looks okay. Arsenal's kit looks okay. I've seen Spurs' kits, looks okay. That of Manchester City, no, that one I did not like. Leeds usually come up with some of the best kits, and so do Ajax. So, yeah, those ones. But the one for Chelsea, maybe, I mean, go back to one of those vintage kits of Chelsea. It had Samsung, and I think the words were in golden colors. The words were written in golden colors. That's one of their best kits, by the way. The black one is the best. You have a black kit for next season, or you're talking about the one from last season, the third kit, because you had blue, you had white, and then black for last season. Have you done another black one this season? Because I'm yet to see all of them, but at least I've seen the home kit, and I saw somebody, the head of AHA, trying to force himself into praising the kit of how nice it looks. But I think if we are being honest to ourselves well enough, behind closed doors, we'll acknowledge that it is not up to the desirable standards. I've seen people take an aim to the Liverpool kit because of its cottony, spiky spots. You know, how do I describe it? You know how you'd splash a bit of paint. We are going to win trophies next season. We wish you the best of luck. Remember, you will be only competing in 3 of them: the Premier League, the FA Cup, and the Carabao Cup. So with the sort of squad depth that you have, and given that you'll be competing on only on those fronts, you'll have a good chance. But that will depend on how quickly players adapt to the demands of Xabi Alonso and how he wants the team to play. So if you're able to get that one quickly, I have no doubt in Chelsea having that bit of a spine of a team that is capable of doing certain things. There are 3 blue, black, and white. Okay, I'll try and search for that one after this broadcast. So, but in the context of Chelsea, for me, I believe that they have a bit of the spine. Obviously, they are lacking in terms of maturity and leadership in some departments. But in terms of having the cores of those players, I think they have something good. They have something good to sustain them through the campaign. Not maybe to win the Premier League, but to at least be to compete favorably for those top 4 places. That's how I would look at it. In terms of domestic cup competitions, I mean, you made it to the FA Cup final this season. What is it to say that you do not make it to the other? And you made it to the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup and lost to a worthy opponent in Arsenal. So you'd have a chance. So how you improve that squad would be very, very important or very pivotal to how things go in Chelsea's favor. But fingers crossed. Let's wait to see what kind of transfer business Chelsea gets to do, and what kind of outgoings there will be, and then how quickly those players adapt to the requirements of Xabi Alonso and how he loves to play his football. Is he going to go back to his known system of a back three, or is he going to try out something new? Rarely do managers change the winning formula. If it's something that has worked for him prior, it will be very remote for any of us to think that he will be attempting to change it. Maybe because of the different players, he may give it a slight bit of a different dimension, but the core principles may remain the same. I didn't ask about my man. Is he seriously leaving? Well, he's considering leaving. That's the honest bit. And it will depend if those interested in his pursuit firm up their offers. I've told you, Atletico de Madrid are interested, but then also Barcelona are considering making a move for him should they be able to part ways with Alejandro Balde. Alejandro Balde is one of those decent left backs, young, is capable of dribbling, really, really good. So if Barcelona part ways with Alejandro Balde, then they could also make a move for Marco Correa. But as of present day, it's Atletico de Madrid that are really, really interested in his services. Looks like Ruggeri has not done the job at that left back role. So we have to wait and see if things will materialize. It could be that Chelsea decide not to sell. That is also a possibility. So maybe as you consider the possibility of him leaving, also consider the possibility of you getting another fan favorite. How on earth did Spain draw with Iraq? It's a friendly game. Anything can happen. I did not watch the game. I was watching the Ivory Coast France game. Meanwhile, Ashkush, you've not yet responded to Viola. We've been waiting for you to respond to Viola, and then we'll call it tonight. So please respond to Viola. She sent you her greetings a short while back. You'll need to scroll upwards a bit to find that comment. I think my internet is back now. Okay, let's hope that is the case. It does happen to all of us. For those of you that are regulars for this broadcast, you know that sometimes it has happened to me too, where we broadcasting and then internet drops and then we have to wait for a couple of minutes for it to get back on. And that's how some people get to think that I prematurely end my live broadcasts, which is ordinarily not the case. Ashimbamba says Arteta might become the next Pep Guardiola of the Premier League. He has inherited Pep genes. Well, I think Pep Guardiola's heights are really, really hard and very high to match. But obviously, if he can improve his squad, he will try. He will make the attempt to try and do that. The first challenge that he has is to win the Premier League back-to-back, because Arsenal, in the history of the Premier League, have never won it back-to-back. So not even Arsene Wenger did it. He tried, but he always fell short to the prowesses of Sir Alex Ferguson and his Manchester United side. So that's his first challenge. And he will need to improve his squad. He doesn't not need many players in terms of new recruits to make them better than they were last season, but he has certain elements to improve. I, for one, think they need a central midfielder. They could use, obviously, they're going to sign Pierre Hincapié permanently. I think they could use a right winger, a left winger, a very good one, and another striker, because I expect Gabriel Jesus to leave. So there are players that I expect to leave Arsenal: Ethan Nwaneri, Gabriel Jesus, Ben White, Christian Norgard. Who else? Kepa Arrizabalaga, by the way, could leave Arsenal. There's a possibility of him leaving. So what was some of the incomings will depend on who the outgoings may have been. But yeah, that's the sort of landscape that he has to cultivate. Chelsea are planning to bring a winger. I mean, Chelsea have wingers, but they could use more, especially one that is experienced. That is why I was saying Rafa Leao is a player that teams like Chelsea should be thinking about, really. Because at least he's more experienced than Jamie Gittens, Alejandro Garnacho, William Esteva. Greetings back. I didn't see it. Oh, it's right up there. It's right up there. Let me see. It even has an emoji to it. So beyond the trophy emoji, look for the next comment that has an emoji. You'll find it. Okay. United Road says, yeah, true. It's very bad. Okay. If it starts again, then I'll I'll talk to you next stream, guys. And Viola. So Viola, yeah, United Road is looking forward to speaking to you again. I hope you'll avail yourself. Viola has a tendency of taking a French leave or being absent for multiple broadcasts before she returns. But nonetheless, we're still grateful for her continued show of love and support to the channel. So guys, it's been what? 1 hour and 56 minutes. Unless there's something that we've not talked about, allow me call it tonight. It's 45 minutes past the hour of midnight. Unless there's something that you want us to talk about, conversation. Besides, my internet is starting to stumble as well. Okay. United Road, they say see you then. So United Road, any parting shout outs to Viola and everyone else before we wrap it up? Or your internet has misbehaved again? Because mine did for a second there. Mine did for a second. Lashku says, what's the time there? 46 minutes past midnight. So that is 14 minutes to 1 a.m. I don't know about you. Viola says, good night. Good night to you all. It's been a very fruitful conversation. Let's do it again tomorrow at 10 a.m. East African time, provided we have power. I will be back to have the conversation. Like I said, tomorrow our focus will be in the World Cup, the multiple groups, assessing them and who the favorites are in each group and where they would rank. Lashkush says here it's exactly midnight. Lashkush, what country are you in? Remind me. What country are you in? Because in Turkey, it's the same time, 47 past midnight. In India, it's probably about 2:47 or 3:47 a.m. In the UK, it's 10:47 p.m. In German, it's about 11:47 p.m. In Rwanda, it's about Rwanda about 11:47 p.m. 47 past midnight in Kenya. In South Africa, it's about 11:47, so that's around the timeline. In New York, I do not know. Raymond, I know you've tried to paraphrase the same comment and bring it in a different way, but you need to teach me World Cup. Viola, I'll teach you. I'll teach you too. Tomorrow at 10, be here and be nowhere else. So we'll be, you say you're in Rome. Okay, how is Rome? Viola, Lashkush would promise to take you to Rome if you're willing to go. Lashkush says he's in Rome for 1 week. United Road says I'm back. So we'll have the World Cup discussion. Thikshana Prabhath says, yo, from Senegal, Africa. Prabhath, good to have you. How is Senegal? What are Senegal's chances at the World Cup? Raymond says Brazil will win the World Cup. Good night from Raymond. Thank you so much, Raymond. So tomorrow we'll be here talking the World Cup. And yeah, I'll do my best to teach you a couple of things. First and foremost, I stand to be corrected, but I think Viola said she will be supporting Portugal at the World Cup. I think that's the country she's going to be supporting. Meanwhile, even my battery is going low. It's telling me it's at 15%. So it is telling me it's time to sign out for tonight. Now, bro, I can't do that to United. Completely understood. Completely understood. Let's the problem is that United Road is struggling with Viola. Rome is a city in Italy. Is a city in Italy. So he's currently in Italy. That's where he is. United Road 10 is suffering with internet tonight. So that is why his responses are coming in leaps and bounds. That's why he said that, Viola says she's going to be rooting for Brazil. Okay, I also support Brazil. So it looks like we already have something in common. So tomorrow we'll be speaking about Brazil is, okay, before I go, let me teach you this one. Brazil is the most successful country in the history of the World Cup. I think they won it in 54. Was it 54, 62, 70, 94, and 2002? So they are the most successful country with 5 World Cups. Next to them is Germany and Italy. They have 4. Next to them is Argentina. They have 3. Uruguay has 2. And who else has 2? Who else has 2? Uruguay has 2. Spain has 1. England has 1. Because there are only, I think, about 9 countries that have 1. Uruguay also has 2. Yes, Uruguay has 2. They won the inaugural edition in 1930. I think they beat Argentina in the finals 4-2. So that is the brief lesson that I can have for you for the World Cup. United Road, sleep. We'll see you tomorrow. Finally, we found something that connects us with Viola. Something that connects us. Yeah, that's true. Brazil, Team Brazil. We'll be rooting for Brazil. Lashgush says he's going to be rooting for France. Good luck in that. Sorry. You are telling me France has 2. Yes, France has 2 also. 94 and 20. No, 98 and 2018. Because 94 is Brazil when they beat Italy. 3-2 in the finals. So that's that. So yeah, those are the most successful countries. So it's Brazil 5, Germany and Italy 4, France and Uruguay have 2, but in between there, Argentina has 3, including one in 1986 for the hand of God, that Diego Armando Maradona goal that is scored against England in the finals. Predominantly known as the hand of God. So then obviously they're the reigning champions in 2022. So there's all that. I have England in my profile pic, bro. How am I rooting for France? No, sorry, it was an error. When you mentioned France, you see, you separated the comment and I first saw France. So I was thinking, France, are you rooting for France? But before you then completed that France has 2. Apologies on that. That was my bad. Internet problems and you already moved on via Lashgush. Time waits for no man. So goes the adage. But at least Lashgush has been kind enough to excuse himself out of the competition to say, no. I cannot do that to my man, United Vote 10. So, Viola, get yourself ready to have a cottage at Old Trafford, where you'll be spending some of your nights. See you all tomorrow. United Vote says. Nana, bro, I'm not single. Oh, wow. Looks like Lashgush managed to land himself one of those princesses from Buckingham Palace before going to vacation in Rome. So for him, he's well covered and sorted for now. And congratulations to you, Lashkush. We hope you enjoy yourself with the princess. So, do you have the duchesses of Dublin, of Sussex, of who? You know, those titles. You could be crowned already. Anyways, Lolo, it was looking like it when I read the messages. No. Just get yourself a comfortable cottage at Old Trafford, and Viola could be making her way there sooner rather than later. Anyways, guys, it's been a pleasure having the conversation. Let's look to do this again tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. I think my internet is back on. You're saying that for the second time. I do not know, but maybe it keeps coming and going back for a good reason. It looks like it's every time. You see? Viola is telling you, sleep peacefully. Stop struggling with the internet. She'll be here tomorrow and you'll engage. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure. She said no to the medical doctor in Rio Dundee. And she has said yes to you, United Road 10. So please sleep comfortably, knowing that Viola is in arm's distance. Old Trafford, but guys, good night. It's been a pleasure for the last 2 hours. Bye-bye for now. Stay blessed.